This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
The U.S. admits it's not winning the war in Afghanistan, and its forces, along with NATO allies, are expecting hostilities with the Taliban will increase as the warmer months approach.
Well, Al Jazeera's Zaina Hodder has travelled to a Taliban stronghold and found a clear mood of defiance. This is her exclusive report.
The snow is melting. The traditional fighting season is set to start. None of these Taliban fighters seem to be worried about the arrival of more international forces. At the same time, they don't seem to understand U.S. efforts to reach out to what Barack Obama called the moderate Taliban. We have one leader, one aim. That is what they say.
All the Muslim brothers respect one Amir, and he is Mullah Muhammad Umar. We only receive orders from him, and the Taliban is one group. How can we talk to those who kill Muslims and invade our country?
Jargato district in Wardak province is under the control of the Taliban. Al Jazeera's camera filmed these fighters patrolling the area, which is less than a 2-hour drive from Kabul. A few weeks ago, the U.S. deployed reinforcements in Wardak to try to re-establish government control in certain districts. So far, that has not happened.
My message to Obama is 20,000 troops is not enough. Send 2 million to this country. Bring all the infidels. We will fight till our last drop of blood. We have over 70,000 suicide bombers.
There is no way of knowing just how many bombers they have, but already there has been a threefold increase in the number of U.S. troops killed in the first 2 months of 2009, when compared with the same period last year. The U.S. military says that is because more troops are operating in new and dangerous areas.
In a speech at the opening session of the Economic Cooperation Organization Summit in Tehran, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said that the capitalist system is on the verge of collapse. Ahmadinejad blamed Washington and accused it of leading a misguided economic system, which the world is paying the price for. Meanwhile, on the sidelines of the summit, the ECO's leaders will discuss the security situation in Iran's eastern neighbor, Afghanistan, whose President Hamid Karzai is attending. Fahima Mazani reports.
Amidst the warnings and the cries of fear over a serious economic crisis looming in the world, the Economic Cooperation Organization opened their Regional Economic Summit in Tehran. The ECO, which includes Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan, and several Islamic countries in Central Asia, met today to tackle economic issues in the region. In addition to leaders from the Central Asian bloc, the Emir of Qatar, the Iraqi President Jalal Talabani, and the Syrian Vice President Farouk al-Shara attended the summit.
We are holding this summit under important global circumstances, especially after the collapse of capitalism as a system. Despite all the efforts exerted to rescue the economy, there appears to be no indication of improvement.
المشاركون في قمة طهران سيحاولون الخروج باتفاق حول أسس خطة عمل دولية.
The participants at the Tehran summit are trying to agree on a set of guidelines that will help them chart a global economic plan. The plan is based on a memorandum that was prepared by the economic experts in Tehran. The economic plan will be launched from Tehran and later distributed to member countries of the ECO. The plan is intended to remedy the economic situation in the long run. However, part of the program is to be executed over the short run, which has to do with the removal of trade restrictions among the member countries. This will, in turn, help boost trading and investment activities in the region. However, drafting economic plans per se will not help solve the economic problems in these countries, as security plays a part in each country's policy. Without a doubt, the security and the strategic situation in the region will be given the lion's share at the summit. This comes after the U.S. invited Iran to take part in an international conference on Afghanistan. plan.
في القمة خاصة في ضوء الدعوة الأمريكية لإيران للمشاركة في مؤتمر دولي حول أفغانستان.
في الملف الأفغاني الدبلوماسية.
On the Afghan front, diplomacy is picking up speed between Iran and Washington. However, on the Iranian nuclear front, the U.S. intelligence service has admitted the difficulty of trying to convince Iran to abandon its nuclear program through diplomatic means. This news was confirmed by the U.S. intelligence director, Dennis Blair, during a hearing before a congressional committee. Blair said that Iran doesn't have enough enriched uranium necessary to build an atomic bomb. He added that Iran is facing problems in the production of fissile materials needed to build a nuclear bomb.
Mauritanian conflicting parties will sign today a framework agreement that paves the way for a Libyan-sponsored meeting between them. The Libyan envoy, Rafia al-Madani, who was assigned with the task of mediation, said that the dialogue has already started between different Mauritanian political parties.
The Libyan envoy presented the conflicting parties a plan to resolve the crisis in Mauritania.
The starting point of the Libyan efforts to resolve the Mauritanian crisis was marked with a meeting between the Libyan President Muammar al-Qaddafi and the head of the military regime, General Mohammed bin Wild Abdelaziz. Meanwhile, the Libyan envoy met with the representatives of the political parties that supported the coup of August 6, 2008.
There are ongoing negotiations about an agreement of principles. God willing, it will mark the starting point of this dialogue. Under the supervision of our brother and leader Qaddafi. It is likely that it will take place tomorrow morning.
The Libyan envoy also met with representatives from the National Front for the Defense of Democracy who oppose the military coup. This party has declared its commitment to dialogue as a way to reach a constitutional solution.
I am very optimistic because I am very confident about our ability as Mauritanians to overcome our differences. Everyone is fully aware that this crisis can only be solved through serious and responsible dialogue. Mauritanian national interests should be placed above all other considerations.
The Libyan envoy also met with a coalition of democratic parties led by Ahmed al-Qaeda. The party reiterated its objection to the return of the ousted president Sidi Wild Sheikh Abdullah, but it also demanded that the military regime step down.
I hope that all conflicting parties make compromises, but as you know, the devil is in the details. God willing, we will leave the details to the different Mauritanian political parties, because they will be able to reach a solution more than anyone else.
The political crisis in Mauritania started with a coup that was staged by General Mohammed Wild Abdelaziz. The coup toppled Sidi Wild Sheikh Abdullah more than 7 months ago. After all local initiatives failed to resolve the political crisis, Mauritanians today are waiting for Libyan efforts. Hopefully, Libya can persuade the conflicting parties with the importance of dialogue and the making of compromises so they can get out of this dark tunnel. Zina Boutalafi, Al Jazeera, Nouakchott.
Sudan's Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs confirmed that the authorities' decision to expel 13 foreign organizations is irrevocable. The ministry said that the rest of the foreign organizations operating in Sudan, whose number exceeds 100, will continue to perform their work in the various licensed areas, as long as they are committed to the laws governing humanitarian work.
The authorities' decision to expel 13 foreign organizations operating in Darfur and the staged rhetoric that has followed were the focus of discussion by the Sudanese Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. The foreign organizations were accused of cooperating with the so-called International Criminal Court, as corroborated by evidence and statements.
Sudan is a member country of the United Nations. From Ban Ki-moon to the lowest rank official in the UN, they are all responsible for the protection of member countries, and no government should be allowed to run the affairs of member countries. Many UN workers and representatives are trying to play this governing role, and this we will not allow.
Meanwhile, the Sudanese government and national organizations vowed to fill in any humanitarian vacuum left behind the expelled foreign organizations. In addition, pledges continue to pour in from brotherly and friendly nations which vowed to help the people of Darfur. Meanwhile, the head of the Humanitarian Aid Commission, Hassan Mohammed Abdurrahman, and the coordinator of the United Nations Humanitarian Affairs, Amira Haq, said that they will assist the amount of aid needed for the people of Darfur.
The government has exerted efforts to maintain control over the humanitarian situation, as well as provide relief aid to the people of Darfur. We will not forget one Sudanese citizen. We have assessed the situation in the region regarding water, food, and health.
The Sudanese Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Harun Rawan Rouni, invited both national and foreign media outlets to report on the humanitarian situation in Darfur through a daily briefing organized by the ministry. Several national organizations and humanitarian experts said that they will hold a forum on Wednesday under the slogan, "The Declaration of Pride," for the support of President Omar al-Bashir against the International Criminal Court's allegations. Through this gathering, organizers will reiterate that the plight of Darfur is a Sudanese plight, and Sudan's national organizations are the ones holding the torch of peace.
Meanwhile, the Sudanese-based Red Crescent Society confirmed that it will mobilize all available resources, including the deployment of its volunteers across Sudan, in order to fill in any humanitarian vacuum left behind the expelled foreign organizations.
In case the decision of expulsion leads to negative impacts on the humanitarian situation in Darfur in particular, and in Sudan in general, the Red Crescent will help fill in the vacuum. During peace or war, the Red Crescent is required to help the authorities as mandated by Article 26 of the 1949 First Geneva Accords. We're following with a great concern, along with the appropriate authorities, any humanitarian vacuum that may result due to the decision of expelling more than 16 international and national organizations. We will continue to consult with our international partners, including those in the Red Cross Society, the International Union for the Red Cross and Crescent Societies, and those in the organizations operating in Sudan. We will discuss ways to help us maintain control over the humanitarian situation, as well as protect the vulnerable segments of society, especially the refugees in the urban camps. The Red Crescent is taking these steps as part of its humanitarian responsibility, which mandates it to intervene immediately and handle any humanitarian crisis that may arise. The preliminary criminal court in Yemen that specializes in the cases of terrorism has started to try a new cell that is suspected to be affiliated with Al-Qaeda. They've been accused of creating an armed gang and committing criminal acts. This trial included 16 men. One of them is a Saudi national originally from Yemen and 4 Syrians. The assistant district attorney has accused them of planning and carrying out suicide bombings that took place in Yemen in 2008. Mahmoud Mansar reports from Sana'a.
13 armed operations were linked to this group. The first operation was an attack on 2 police stations, then the killing of 2 Belgian tourists in Hadramaut in January 2008. The most significant operations carried out by Al-Qaeda in Yemen last year were committed by this group. They attempted to attack the United States Embassy and an apartment building for foreign professionals in Sana'a. They also committed a suicide attack on the Central Security Office in Sayoun, and they were responsible for the fighting that took place in the city of Tarin that resulted in the death of Hamza al-Fayyati, one of Al-Qaeda military leaders.
They belong to an armed gang and organization that commits criminal acts, in which they attack foreigners in embassies, companies, apartment complexes, tourist areas, vital institutions, and security points. They endanger the safety and security of our society.
The deputy prosecutor has showed that Hamza al-Fayyati is a fugitive who escaped from intelligence prison in 2005. After he escaped, he succeeded in the creation of 2 groups that took place in the 2 tents that he put up in the Hadramaut desert. Hamza al-Fayyati and Abdullah al-Batais led many attacks in Hadramaut, Sana'a, and Aden. The attacks resulted in the death of 4 people, 2 of whom were Belgian tourists. 12 soldiers soldiers and 30 students were wounded by mortar shells that hit the school near the United States Embassy in Sana'a.
The attack on the Belgian tourists was carried out by Abdallah Bataiz and Hamza Al-Fiati. Soon after, the bombing of the oil pipeline in Al-Masila was carried out by Abdallah Bataiz. The leader of the group that carried out the attack was Hassan Bazara.
Most members of the group returned from Iraq, which explains why 4 were Syrians and 1 was Saudi national. They established a base for Al-Qaeda in Yemen and carried out attacks inspired by religious decrees of Al-Qaeda leaders. They stayed very quiet in the trial while the prosecutor was showing evidence of their crimes. They denied all the charges against them and expressed their position by chanting religious slogans and praising God. The number of the operations that were linked to this group can allow us to say that the year of 2008 was an excellent year for Al-Qaeda in Yemen. Muhammad Munassar, Al-Arabiya, Sana'a.
At the headquarters of the Lebanese Journalists Guild, journalists held political and social activities in a show of solidarity with the Iraqi journalist Muntazar al-Zaidi.
To prevent Muntazar al-Zaidi from being added to the list of Arab political prisoners, the Committee for Solidarity with the Iraqi journalists held a solidarity meeting at the headquarters of the Lebanese Journalists Guild. Lebanese and Arab journalists participated in the event.
Perhaps the worst thing that can be done is to charge this innocent journalist while Iraq is under occupation.
How many times Muntazar lost one of his colleagues, a cameraman, a producer, or someone like our colleague Atwar Bahjat? This man has to put up with what we can't even imagine in Beirut, Dubai, or London. It is shameful for some journalists to put one leg on top of the other and drink Turkish coffee and say that this man did something illegal.
The religious, social, and sectarian tolerance which has prevailed in Iraq for centuries was stolen by George Bush. Muntazar sent a message that he was alive. He was saying that George Bush is dead and Muntazar is alive.
المحكمة هي محكمة الضمير وأعتقد أن كل صاحب ضمير.
We are accountable to our consciousness. I think that everyone who has conscience, not only in the Arab and Muslim worlds, but in the entire world, rejoiced when they saw that big shoe almost hitting the head of the tyrant. Thank you, Muntazar al-Zaidi, because you gave us the best gift.
فشكرا لك يا منتظر الزيدي لأنك أهديتنا أجمل قصيدة.
وبطل مثل منتظر.
A hero like Muntazar is an example for all of us. Those who have a sense of nationalism felt proud, and those who are immoral said that the incident was immoral.
The speech of the head of the news and political programs in New TV, Mariam Al-Bassam, was delivered by my colleague, Agarit Dandash.
This is your time. In our time, a shoe has more of an impact than the pen. Thanks for the pair of shoes that were hurled towards the arrogant president to mark the end of his bloody service. Your shoe hurling has generated a great deal of reactions, but very few actions. We left your brother Muntazar waiting behind our borders and walls. It is as if we are afraid that he will also throw his shoes. It is as if we would only welcome him if he comes barefoot.
Speeches emphasize the need to free Muntazar al-Zaidi without any delay, and to follow up the details of his case with all available means.
Governor Fisher is warning that Israel may face the worst recession in the history of the state if immediate action is not taken. Joining us now in the studio to discuss his 4.4 billion shekel stimulus plan is Daniel Doron from the International Council for National and Economic Progress and the former economic advisor to Prime Minister-designate Benjamin Netanyahu. Thank you, Mr. Doron, for coming in this evening.
Thank you very much, and thank you for making us international. We are actually the Israel Center for Social and Economic Progress, if you'll pardon the expression.
Wonderful. Okay, the stimulus plan presented by Bank Governor Stanley Fischer yesterday has been widely criticized for being basically meaningless, with very little return for the government's investment. Do you agree with that assessment, with that criticism?
Well, first we must remember that we live in a country where everything must be criticized. Sometimes rightly, sometimes not so. Well, you could always criticize a plan, and all plans should be criticized, I suppose. But I think we should first realize what the purpose of the plan is. It's not really a revolutionary plan, as the governor himself said. He said it was a very modest plan, and I think it mostly was meant to serve the official function of the Bank of Israel as a consultant to the government. In some sense, it served as a reminder to the government. Here are steps that you yourself have said you wanted to do, and I urge you in some way to really do them, and do them fast and hopefully efficiently.
تتنوع مظاهر الاحتفال بالمولد النبوي الشريف في المغرب حيث تشهد.
There were various celebrations of the Honorable Prophet's birthday in Morocco. Some cities witnessed folklore exhibits, organized prayer, and religious singing. The season of candles in the city of Salah is one of the most important seasons, which expresses the love that the Moroccans have for the Messenger of Islam. Peace and blessings be upon him.
الاحتفالات بعيد المولد النبوي الشريف وإن اختلفت مظاهرها.
While celebrations of the Prophet's birthday varied from city to city, they all mix religion with tradition. Despite the cultural and ethnic differences which are reflected in these folkloric exhibits, the parades, which took place in most Moroccan towns, included religious singing groups for the youth and elderly, which crystallized the Moroccans' great love for the Messenger of God. Peace and blessings of God be upon him.
Our Islam is firm, thank God. We love the Messenger of God. May God's peace and blessing be upon him.
In some cities, the birthday of the noble prophet is an occasion to revive a special season, whose activities last for 1 week. The candle season in Salah is considered the most important of these seasons. Candles 1 meter high are made by Moroccan hands. They are carried on the shoulders. Some are inscribed with the 99 names of God, while others are inscribed with the name of the Messenger of God. May God's peace and blessings be upon him. All the candles are carried in parade through the streets of the city before being collected in a space designated for celebrations. Along with a number of traditional paintings, the candle season is a door to exhibit part of Islamic civilization.
We hold demonstrations and religious processions that in the end revive the greatness of Islam and the Islamic civilization.
المغاربة يحرصون كذلك على إحياء ليلة العيد داخل المساجد التي.
In celebrating, the Moroccans also like to go to the mosques in the evening. There, after an exchange of greetings, tea is given to the worshippers before reciting the Holy Quran and eulogizing the noble prophet until the morning prayer. For Moroccans, this blessed night is an occasion to get closer to God and to revive the character of Muhammad.
جزء من الشمائل المحمدية.
This is to thank Almighty God by celebrating this generous prophet. This is why we celebrate the birthday of the noble prophet, who came with mercy, light, and good tidings to the believers.
The celebrations on the birthday of the noble prophet in all its expressions and rituals reiterate all Moroccans' love for the Messenger of God. May God's peace and blessings be upon him. They are also a message to Western societies to stop defaming the prophet and the Islamic nation. Nuruddin Ujar, Al-Alam, Rabat.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.